I'm gonna say some nice things about D'Angelo Russell. Now, my opinion of him, based on his first 2 years in the NBA, is still the same. I'm not very high on him as a player, but I have to admit, he is in a golden opportunity to take off in his third year with the Brooklyn Nets. For one, I think just a lot of the duties of a ball handler that he's going to have for the Nets, it might be a little bit more than when he was on the Lakers. For one, I would say the only other guy on this team who's really going to dribble that much is Jeremy Lin, whereas on the Lakers, you know, his first season it was Kobe, and then his second season it was like Lou Williams before he got traded, and Jordan Clarkson and Julius Randle would have the ball in his hand sometimes. Sometimes Brandon Ingram was used as a ball handler. I think Brooklyn's going to give him the ball a lot more and let him do things. And if I can give Russell some credit, he's a decent ball handler. He has some nice craftiness, and he does shoot well around the paint. He's not very good at the basket, but when it comes to like floaters and things like that, yeah, the dude can put it in the basket at least a decent clip. And I think he does have some nice feel for the game in terms of like catching teammates who are open. I do think he still makes a decent amount of mental mistakes, but what I'm getting at is Russell could step up in his third season. I think another thing that's going to help him is that the Nets shoot 1 million three-pointers. They were one of the league leaders in three-point attempts this previous season, so they run with a spread floor, which gives you a lot of room to operate. I think the Lakers, they didn't have a whole lot of shooters when Russell was there. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's got a good opportunity. I think Kenny Atkinson is going to use him and Jeremy Lin pretty well together in terms of movement. Maybe one guy has the ball and the other guy's moving off screens and stuff. I think it's an avenue for success, even if my personal opinion would make me believe that I'm a little skeptical of how much he's actually going to improve. He definitely could do it, and he could prove me wrong. If we can just talk about his teammates a little bit more, I think Jeremy Lin can help him out because he's an actual ball handler who's decent. He's got some good shooters on the team as well. There's Alan Crabb, who Brooklyn finally acquired after like almost 2 years of wanting to get him. I think DeMarre Carroll can hopefully be used as a decent enough offensive player if he can bounce back. There's also Karis LeVert. I think D'Angelo Russell's in a good spot to where he could make me eat my words and have a really good third season. We're going to talk about Corey Joseph, who has been one of my favorite bench players in the NBA for a few seasons now. What was the trade? I think it was basically him for CJ Miles or something like that, to where Joseph is now a member of the Indiana Pacers. He was backing up Kyle Lowry for the past few seasons for Toronto, and I mean, he was pretty good when doing that. He averaged 9 points, 3.5 assists, 45 from the field, 36% from three, which are not numbers that pop out at you, but I think if he's the starting point guard for these guys, and he has the main ball handling duties, which I would give to him. I mean, Darren Collison, maybe you could make an argument that Collison could start, but I think Joseph, one, I think he's a little better, and two, with the idea of this video, I don't think he's reached his potential just yet. I think we could see him take a jump in terms of just overall production, maybe 14, 15 points a game, hopefully maintaining his efficiency and getting up to maybe 5 or 6 assists a game. I really have liked Joseph for a while. I think he's been a guy who Toronto has gone to in the playoffs when things have not been going well. His season averages were pretty much maintained in the postseason, and he's also like pretty under control with everything he's doing. He's got a decent craftiness to him. He doesn't commit that many turnovers, a little over 1 a game, which is pretty good. I just think he can be an overall solid enough point guard, and he's just been kind of hiding in Toronto's second unit thing for a while now. Now, I do have some fears about the head coach. I don't know if Nate McMillan is going to use him correctly, because Nate McMillan's one of the more basic head coaches in the NBA when it comes to X's and O's. We're going to have to find out. You know what I'm also intrigued by? The team around him actually isn't terrible. For one, there's Miles Turner, who's going to provide him with spacing, as well as a guy who can finish from everywhere on the floor. Bojan Bogdanovic may be the starting small forward for these guys. He's also a good shooter. Oladipo at the 2-guard spot. I don't know what to expect from Victor. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit this year. at the bare minimum, he can be an okay three-point shooter. And you got Thad Young on fast breaks. I think Corey Joseph's got a good thing going for him in Indiana. And our last one is Dennis Schroeder, who I've talked about already. So I don't want to rehash everything I already said. The TLDR of that one would be, I like his mid-range jumper. I think he can be a good on-ball defender. But he's going to have to improve on his threes. He's going to have to fix some of the mental mistakes that lead to quite a few turnovers. I don't know how natural of a playmaker he is. But what I really want to talk about is just how Mike Budenholzer will use him, because I think that's something I probably didn't talk about enough in my video that was just focused on Schroeder. I would like to think that Budenholzer is just going to make his day a lot easier. The way Brad Stevens often uses Isaiah Thomas off ball, which to me was a big reason why Isaiah Thomas averaged nearly 30 points a game. Hopefully Schroeder can be in a similar thing. I think that could also work to his advantage, because I think he's a pretty natural shooter. It's just his three-point percentage has never gotten to like how good I think it can be, if that makes sense. His mid-range jumper makes me believe that he can be a good three-point shooter, and just maybe he needs an extra inch of space off of a defender to be a bit better from three, and I think Mike Budenholzer can get him those sort of open looks. I do wish this Atlanta team had another ball handler. There really doesn't seem to be another one on the roster that I would trust like that. There's like Malcolm Delaney. I mean, maybe he could do something, but there really isn't another real ball handler, and I think that could hurt it. But I do trust Coach Bud to just kind of figure it out with Schroeder. Or he might suck, I don't know. He does have some good shooting around him, though. There's Bellinelli. I'm waiting on Bellinelli's three-point shot to just fall off a cliff for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because he had one bad season. Bazemore had a bad season last year. Hopefully he can just bounce back, but his shooting should still be okay. Ilyasova, who just personifies Atlanta Hawks so much for some reason. I just look at him and I think Atlanta. And then we have the Collins kid, who's apparently going to dunk on everyone's face this season. Hopefully Schroeder's good.